In T-minus 3, 2, 1, we begin the fun. Touring our way through the NBA from that big apple to the place by the bay. Is your mind buckled in? Because it's time to begin. Sekou and his friends are doing it again. The Hang Time Podcast is the spot, so sit back, relax, because the show's about to drop.
Welcome into another edition of the Hang Time Podcast. Sekou Smith, your host here in Atlanta, sheltering in place as we all have been throughout the course of this coronavirus and the shutdown that has caused. But we have continued to try and find the best people, stories, and themes to talk about where basketball is concerned. And today we got one that I'm telling you, it's going to knock your socks off when you hear his story and you realize what he's had to go through to get here. But Damion Lee of the Golden State Warriors, your breakout season this year, Damion. So kudos to you for all the work you put in to get here, man. And first and foremost, how are you and your family doing? I know your mom and your aunt are nurses, registered nurses, so I know they're on the front line. Kudos to them for the job they do.
Yeah.
And how you guys doing? How you holding up?
Yeah, we're good. Well, I mean, first off, just want to say thank you for having me on. Your podcast is great. You guys touch on a lot of subjects and just try to keep people informed. In the meantime, but family's good. Me and my wife and my dogs are out here in the Bay, just hanging, trying to find things to keep it exciting. And
Right.
my mom and the rest of my family is back on the East Coast, so
Right.
nothing too crazy. Just trying to enjoy every single moment.
Yeah, no doubt. Appreciate it. So with your mom and your aunt, being on the front lines of this thing, man, what's that been like for you, knowing that they're in the middle of this mix every day in something that's really unprecedented? It's been coming at us in waves. The information changes daily, but they've had to continue to grind away at the forefront of this thing.
Yeah. I mean, main thing is, of course, you're staying in communication with them, whether, they have patients, that they, in a sense, come, in direct contact with, or whether they're talking to, a patient's family. So just trying to stay in communication with them about how they are for their well-being. And then also just, just being appreciative of, the life that we have, and that I have two people in my immediate circle that, have been sacrificing, whether it's their time, energy, and sort of putting their lives on the line, for the past almost 30 years. It's when I was younger, I really didn't understand what a nurse did. Obviously, you're in elementary school, you just think, that's what a nurse does. But, just hearing the stories from growing up and then even until now, just very appreciative that they're, giving their hard work and, their time to help save lives.
No doubt. It's been amazing. Just, you realize how they use that word essential workers. And I'm realizing what's essential now, the things that I need every day, the things that are luxuries every day. For me, this thing has really grounded me. It's given me a chance to step back and kind of examine my life and just what I do and my family. I know everybody is hammering you guys all the time about basketball. When's the game? When's the league coming? When are we going to get back to playing? But has it provided a chance for even players in the league to just take a breath and recognize what's important to them and what is not as important?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, just obviously the first couple of weeks were sort of, out of the norm, not even just for us as players, but everyone in the world. And guys were trying to, do things to still fight and stay in shape and, just try to pick up new hobbies. But it's these are things now where we can, take a step back and realize that, we never take the game for granted and we never cheat the game. But while we have it, we have to take full advantage of it, because we never know if something like this could happen again, or, if you could have a career-ending injury. So I think this is just opening people's eyes to enjoy the moment. Obviously us as athletes, we travel a lot. So, we're away from our families for half of the year. So just being able to reconnect, find new ways to connect with your family or your friends, just trying to do that while we have the time. So then, once sports eventually comes back, we could still have these little tidbits and these things that we did during quarantine that can carry over.
Right. Damion, I know that you have been through so many different machinations in terms of your career. I'm looking and going all the way back to the time, you grew up in New York, and then you make a transition from New York to Maryland at a pivotal stage for anybody that's trying to immerse themselves in that youth basketball culture and AAU and travel ball. What was that like, just having to change lanes like that from something that was familiar that you knew and adjust to that basketball in that Baltimore area where maybe it's different from New York? Maybe you don't know the people that you knew in New York. You got to start over basically in terms of crafting a youth basketball career.
Yeah. I mean, even, dating back, my basketball career started a little bit later than most.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I played, CYO, Christian League, but mainly I was a football player. So I played in the PAL, which is the Police Athletic League.
Mm-hmm.
They have that around a lot of cities and counties around the state, but it was like mainly football. And then, moved down to the Baltimore area, started to, figure out basketball was kind of my thing. I loved it a lot more. And then just that transition of, when you're in 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, you're still trying to come into your own. You're trying to figure out what you like, what you don't like. So, going down to the Baltimore area for 7th and 8th grade was a complete shell shock to me. But I think that kind of, started my story in which, I've traveled a lot and used basketball to travel to new places and always meeting new people. And I think I kind of grew more comfortable in that, being in a new environment, just feeling more comfortable in knowing who I am, knowing what I bring, knowing what I deserve.
What was the biggest culture shock for you, going from New York to Baltimore? I grew up in my hometown and lived in the same place from the time I was a little kid all the way till I left for college. Like, I started thinking about what kind of a shock to the system that could be just on a human level, just from, like you said, 7th and 8th grade. That's like one of the most formative times in your life when you're developing your personality and figuring out, what kind of person you're going to be. And then you shift to a completely new place.
Yeah. I mean, it was, obviously just, there's cliques, there's cliques when you're in middle school, the cool kids, the quote unquote nerds, the athletic kids. And I really didn't have like a clique or anyone, just being the new kid. So just trying to feel things out. And then of course, I mean, I know I'm not the only person, but it's tough when you're a new kid and you don't want to, rub anyone the wrong way. So, you get in with, a certain crowd, and then, those kids happen to get bullied, and then you're in that bully group as well, and you're getting bullied, and that emotional and physical, stress that you may have as a young kid, you don't really know how to express yourself. So you start acting out, whether it's at home or, taking things out on people that don't deserve it.
Yeah. So what did basketball serve as not just, something that you did, a hobby or whatever, or an activity, but did it serve as something more than that for you maybe at a younger age? Once you got started, did it become kind of that place you went to get away from all that other stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, it was, growing up, I always said that it was my oasis, just be able to go there, be on the court, go out shooting, just, be a way to get away from all the stress that was going on in life. And, thankful for, my mom, which I kind of wish I would have listened to her when I was younger. She said, I was probably like 6'2", playing like the 4. And, I was one of the tallest guys in middle school. At that time. And she said to always work on my guard skills. She's like, you're not going to be 6'11". You're not going to be Kevin Garnett. And I was like, man, whatever. Like you don't know what you're talking about. Typical kid, right?
Right.
You don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to be tall, blah, blah, blah. Well, I ended up still the same height up until my senior year of high school. Mm-hmm. And I was not 6'11", 7 foot. And then I had to transition to become a guard going into my junior year of high school. So that was my first time playing out on the wing. So, just being able to use what my mom said, sort of turn that motivation and that grind towards trying to become the best basketball player that I could be, whether it was, playing in the NBA, playing overseas, just using it as a way to get to college. So I left with no debt.
Man, I tell you what, let me tell you, in 40-some years of living, if I learned anything, it's listen to mom, dude. Moms always know. Even if you don't find out till 10, 15, 20 years later, she was right.
Right? I
So,
swear.
so you tell me when that moment, because like you said, you started later, more of a late bloomer, I guess, in today's
Yep.
parlance. I mean, when did it become clear to you that basketball was going to be more than just something you did and then moved on to something else a little bit later? I mean, it's lots of guys play, very few guys, and I don't think people understand this, how few people on planet Earth get to become professionals at this. I mean, and I'm talking about around the world, not just the 400 plus guys in the NBA, but that's such a small number of people when you look at the bigger picture. When did it become clear in your mind that basketball would be your profession?
I'd have to say probably going into so I went to prep school. I went to 2 different high schools. I went to prep school, and my year at prep school, I was actually, me and Andre Drummond were actually on the same prep school team.
Wow, right.
So, just during the course of that year, I would get up every morning at 6 a.m. Classes would start at 8. I get up at 6 a.m., go to the gym, work out from 6:30 to 7:45, take a quick shower, go get breakfast, and then go to class. And it was literally, I went to St. Thomas More, it's in like the backwoods of Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
So like that year really like instilled like a permanent grind. Like I did that every single day, Monday through Saturday. The only day I took off was Sunday, but got up at 6 in the morning every single day and just instilled that same work ethic. And, towards the end of the year, one of my coach was like, I just want you to know, like, you have a shot to make money and take care of your family playing this game. And I've been seeing that with your work ethic throughout this entire year. So I was like, all right, like, I know that I could play pro. I don't know if it was NBA, but like, if someone would have told me when I was 5 or 10, like, oh, you're going to play in the NBA, I would have thought that they, like, no way. Like,
right.
I was never one of those kids that was like, oh, I knew that I was going to play in the NBA when I was 3. It was like, It took a lot of trial and error, and it took a lot of hard work, despite the injuries, despite the moving, despite, the mental, but, knowing that God always had my steps ordered. And that's one thing that my mom told me ever since I was young. She was like, no matter what you go through, just know that your steps are ordered. And as long as you continue to follow the path that God has provided for you, then everything will be fine.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. I know we're kind of digging back before we get to your Warriors days. And I know you mentioned the injuries, tore both ACLs, had broken bones in both hands, right?
Broke my shooting hand twice.
Wow, broke your shooting hand twice. I mean, I know, just from a physical standpoint, guys, when the body betrays you like that, and and it's no fault of anybody's that when you do that stuff, how do you mentally get back up and grind the way you did at prep school and beyond? Like, how do you find that place where you go, all right, I'm knocked down, I got to get, it's time to start over again, and then find a way to sustain that? That's an amazing thing to me. I'm always struck by how you guys have that kind of adversity and then get right back to the grind.
Yeah. I mean, the first time I, tore my right ACL and meniscus, so I was, non-weight bearing for 8 weeks. That was by far the toughest, just because that was my first time getting surgery, my first major injury. After that year, I had intentions of, trying to test my name with the Waters after my junior year at Drexel, trying to see what the NBA held. But it's like, I think that was when I realized that I can't try to make plans and make expectations for myself. Like, I'm just going to have to start going with the flow, because I was in my head like, all right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And I felt, and I talked to my mom about this all the time, like, God put me in a position where he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I need you to get something else right in your life. I need you to get your friendships right. I need you to cut these people out of your life. And once you do that, like once you go through this hard time, whatever is waiting for you on the backside is going to be there tenfold. And I'll be able to really appreciate everything that I went through. So, going through the first ACL, it was tough. I mean, but I started to, use sort of tips and, ideas from guys that are pros, like, even, rest in peace, like Kobe, like how he would say that whenever he got hurt, he would approach his rehab like it was a game. So just sort of keeping that mind state, like, all right, I know that as long as I keep up mentally, then the physical will get back, whether it's 2 months, 3 months, 8 months. But just keeping my mental sharp, being able to, stay locked in and know what the end prize is, I think that made the transition much easier, the second time I went through, my torn ACL and, both times with breaking my hand.
Wow, yeah. Going to Drexel, when you were making that decision, what was it about Drexel that appealed to you and made that the choice?
I think with Drexel, it was just the perfect fit. I wanted to be able to, write my own story, and I didn't want to necessarily go to a high major school coming out just because there was, a high major school and you travel charter. I wanted to go to a school where I could, come in as a freshman, be able to develop, and my game can, learn and grow from, the guys that were there before. And then whatever happens in 4 years, I graduate and I get my degree.
Yeah.
And, going to Drexel with Bruiser Flint, that was the perfect opportunity. There was the shooting guard who was starting from the previous season was out with an injury, and he wouldn't be back until late December, early January. And it was basically me and another freshman had to duke it out to who was going to start. And I mean, long story short, I just knew that it was someone else that was in my class. There was no ranking or no hierarchy, and I wasn't going to let him outwork me.
I wonder too, given the way you came onto the scene, if the politics of basketball, and I've talked to a lot of players who talk about politics. One of my favorite things is when I hear guys talking about players that they think were talented enough to make it, but for whatever reasons, political, otherwise, didn't. And I wonder how much of that you've seen throughout the course of your journey. When you go somewhere, you show up to a camp, or you in a setting where you guys can play. Like we get to see whose play dictates where they go, and the politics come into play because you don't have that pedigree, or you're not the blue blood, you're not the 5-star guy, or the high profile player.
Yeah, I mean that happens in every facet, even in the business world. Like that stuff just happens, but there's always that constant drive of just wanting to break down barriers and break down walls. And one thing that one of my teachers told me in high school, which I still keep with me to this day, and I even spread the word to the younger generation, is the number one thing in business, whether it's sports, whether you're a weatherman, a weatherwoman, a lawyer, an accountant, is relationships. As long as you have those relationships and you keep those in positive and all in good standards, and maybe if a team can't use you, or if a coaching staff can't use you, then they can recommend you to someone else. So, even when I was going through this stuff with the politics and guys, whatever, getting drafted over me or getting picked over me, it was like, I know that I'm in good standing with all these people, and, eventually hard work and perfect timing is always going to match up.
Yeah. And I know you played your last year of college at Louisville, and Donovan Mitchell was a freshman on that team, right?
Yes, he was.
So,
my young boy.
So you've been around this ecosystem for years. It's not like the NBA was fresh to you, or that you were somebody that other players didn't know. What was that stretch like when you're battling through G League, and other leagues trying to get to the NBA? What was it that kept you grinding away, thinking, all right, you know what, this is cool, but I know I can play at the NBA level, and I just got to find the right fit? What was it? What was keeping that fire burning in? Because it'd be easy to go. You could have went overseas maybe and played a long career overseas and made a great living, a life for yourself there. But that NBA seems like that was always hanging out there.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, even from the first time I got hurt, the second time it it was always like I knew that in summertime, whenever we played pickup with guys, that I could hold my own a little bit. And I just needed, either whether it was the right organization or, the right front office or the right coaching staff just to believe in my game and my skill. I pride myself on, shooting and high IQ and knowing the game, being able to fit in any system. So, just going out there and just being relentless and aggressive and just having fun, like knowing that I'm going to make mistakes, but knowing that, it's all for the betterment of the team and just trying to be successful. I mean, whenever I put my mind to something, I try my best to achieve it. And if I don't achieve it, then I'm going to try another way. But it's like, I'm never going to quit on a dream or a goal that I have because, I know that there's things that I've gone through that have allowed me to get to this point. So I can't quit on myself. I can't quit on, my mom or my wife or my family making sacrifices for me to, chase my dreams.
What you mentioned the sacrifices made. I mean, you have the amount of time it takes, obviously, to do what you've done in your career is immense. I mean, is it just that time away that's the biggest sacrifice, knowing that you're not there for the things that a 9-to-5 lifestyle would, allow you to, weekends, holidays. I mean, as well as I do that. If you're in the NBA schedule, all that stuff is out the window because you never know, what might come up or where you might have to be.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I mean, the beauty of it, I think, is I don't go home as much. I'd rather, whether it's fly, my mom or my aunt or my wife, I'd rather them, come to me and know that, they have a spot that they can come to, or whether we're in another city, fly and meet at that city. So like my family's understanding of that, and we're all, willing to make that sacrifice for each other. Which I think that started from, the whole phrase of it takes a village to raise a child, just knowing the people that have sacrificed for you, knowing that you do the same in return for them when, you have the means.
Yeah. Now you got your first opportunity, obviously, in the NBA with Atlanta. And I know it was a short stint, but you made an impact. Obviously, it showed up. Do you think that just having that on film for the league to see kind of gave you maybe finally gave you a calling card to be like, all right, now, I showed you I could do this at this level, and the opportunities that came after that were based on that time you put in here when you were with the Hawks?
Yeah, no, definitely. I tell people all the time that I'm forever in debt to, the Atlanta Hawks for giving me that first opportunity. Just allowing me to go out there, play, Coach Bud. I mean, he starting me, I think it was like 4 games in while I was there. Mm-hmm. And that was like the biggest shock to me. I'm thinking I'm coming off the bench. He's like, all right, Damion, so you're starting against Utah, and I'm putting you on Donovan. And I'm like, okay, so you know what I mean? Like, it's perfect. Like, it just all lines up the same way. So, I knew that coming out of that there was either going to be, like, I'm a complete realist with all this stuff. So I knew that one of two things would come out of the Atlanta deal. Either I'd get a non-guarantee with the team, with a trigger date in January, or either training camp or January, or I'd be able to get on a 2-way and be with the team for an entire year. And the opportunity came up with Golden State to get in on a 2-way. I was already familiar with the system, being in Santa Cruz for 2 years. So it was a no-brainer.
So it's funny, you spend 2 years in Santa Cruz with the G League, and now we got these elite high school players coming into the G League. How do you think that colors that experience for guys? They're going to be dealing with these high school kids. I know they're blue chippers. I know they're top McDonald's All-Americans, all that stuff. They're going to be playing against guys who are pros, like guys like yourself when you were there, like guys who are every bit as good as they are, but with a completely different motivation. It's not, you come in with that chip on your shoulder wanting to get to that next level and prove to people you belong. And then you got a high school kid who's kind of had that 5-star magic carpet ride through the process up to that point. How do you think that plays out for both, for the established players and for these kids?
Yeah, I think for the kids, I mean, obviously it's definitely a quicker transition to get them ready, because at the end of the day, like, your high school, these guys top 10, top 15, and they're all well respected. But playing against the G League, it's a lot of guys. There's some D2, some D3, but like these guys go hard, and it's literally every game in the G League is a dogfight. I mean, the good thing is, offense is promoted, so there's definitely going to be a lot of high-scoring games. But it's like the G League is literally a dogfight every single night. The travel as well, you're flying commercial, so you may have you may come from Santa Cruz and have to play in Sioux Falls, so you have to fly from San Jose to Denver and a 2-hour layover in Denver, and then Denver to Sioux Falls. So the travel's different. Yeah. There's a lot that goes into it, but for these kids, I mean, they're all going to have shots to play, whether it's get drafted first round, second round. So just sort of using this experience as a little humbling, because that next year when you get to the big stage, it's all dogs on this level.
Yep, I'm curious too about the level that you realize you have to raise your game to when you get into the NBA. I know everybody thinks, they watch it and think, oh, it's not that hard, or these guys are blessed, they don't work at it. I realize how much work goes into it. I understand the grind that goes into it, but what is that like when you get that first breath of NBA air and realize, all right, like you said, it's all dogs up here. Nobody playing around when you get to that level.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, especially whether you're on a team with a lot of older guys and you're the rook and you got to go do all the rookie duties, or even throughout the course of a game, you may talk to a ref and they just call you rook, or they, what I mean? Like,
right.
There's that little, not disrespect, but it's like at the end of the day, when you're on this level, like, you have to earn your respect. And there's nothing that's going to be given to you, whether it's guys seeing that you're a rook and then picking you up 94 feet just because they want to instill some fear in you. It's like you're going to always have to battle and prove yourself before you play those first 80. Before you finish out those first 82 games.
Yeah. So I know for you that you still at the point where this is this is the honeymoon stage of an NBA career when you're just getting cranked, but. Can you look back now, even now, and pinpoint, like, when was basketball for you at its purest? Like, was it the grind getting to the NBA? Was it that work you put in prep school? Like, when was it where basketball felt as natural and pure to you so far in your basketball journey?
That's a good one. I'd probably say my first year, either my first year in college or my last year in college. Mm-hmm. I think, my first year, obviously coming out of prep school, being so bright-eyed and like, all right, I can do this, like, had a time management, and knowing what sacrifices, whether if I wanted to, go out, hang out, or if there was a workout, just learning how to do those, obviously factoring in 6 a.m., 7 a.m. workouts. And then I think my last year of college, when I really understood the entirety of it, like knowing what I needed to do to have the best chance of success for my future. And that was literally eliminating all distractions, like locking in, like just staying focused in on the season and knowing, like, if I wanted to party, like, I could party after the season. If I wanted to hang out and do all this other stuff, like, I could do that after the season, like, when there's time for it. But right now, like, I'm cutting off everything because this is what I want to work. And as long as I continue to do that, then it's all going to pay off.
Yeah. The reason I ask that is because when I talk to people, and certainly players and guys who have played at the NBA level, I'm always curious, like, when was it the way you described it? Like, when is it? Do you look back at it when you're done playing, when you're in your 50s, and say, oh, this stretch of my NBA career, whatever, and it's inevitably, it's always during the journey. It's always on the way up. The guys say
Yeah.
the game feel pure to them. I know it's a business now. That's the other thing that you get exposed to once you leave college and get into the professional ranks, is that the business of basketball gets thrown at you time after time. What's the most jarring part of the business of basketball that you've experienced so far in terms of recognizing, you know what, it's not personal. It's not, it's not about what your hair looks like or how tall you are. It's just business. Like at some point,
Yeah.
the game hits you between the eyes and lets you know it's about just business.
Yeah, I think so. I realized that it was just business when when I was my last year at Louisville, we had postseason ban, so we didn't go to the NCAA tournament, which in turn, I feel like that was one of the reasons why I wasn't able to get drafted, because I wasn't seen on a big stage.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel like the business of basketball kicked in during my year at the G League. It was middle of December, and I was close to getting a call up. It was between a couple of teams. I'm not going to say names, but I was close to getting a call up. And they took another guy because he had NBA experience, and I was a rookie. So it was one of those situations where I realized like that this is a fraternity, and as long as you continue to be on good standing, and you're especially as a guy that, like, I would have been an end of the bench guy, 14, 15. Just as long as you still have that good repertoire around the league, then it's a fraternity, so they're most likely going to keep you in. So the other guy got called up. He was on the team for the rest of the year, and then actually, I think it was like 6 days after that. That was when I ended up tearing my other ACL, and I had to restart this whole journey again for the second time. But I think that was probably when I really realized that it was a business, that we had identical stats, points, shooting percentages, everything. But I was a rookie, and he was a guy that played in the league for a couple of years, but was down in the G League.
Right. That's a sobering thing too, and with the injury compound on it, I know it had to be tough.
Yeah.
If you look at all the different options you could have had potentially to get into the league, you get in with the champs. Like, you come in dealing with championship organization, championship team, the Splash Brothers, Draymond Green, all this stuff, Kevin Durant. You probably would have had different opportunities in terms of playing time, but I would imagine you're really glad that you came into an organization where you get to see it at the top rung. Like, you get to see it at its very best. I know this has been a tough season for the Warriors, where everybody knows about the injuries and all the way the team, finished last season and had to reconstitute itself. But are you appreciative maybe a little bit more now than initially you might have been, realizing that you got a chance to see it operating at that elite level the way it did?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, it even, just being a part of the playoff run last year, like, that was my first time ever seeing any postseason besides my freshman year of college. So just seeing the postseason, seeing how guys were locked in, seeing day in and day out, whether, it was Clay, KD, Steph, like Andre, Sean, like these guys just coming in and getting a 15-minute workout in throughout the course of the season on the off day and being drenched in sweat, like seeing what like a pro's pro does day in and day out. I'm very appreciative of it. I mean, obviously I wish selfishly, I wish the two-way rule was a little different and there was a chance to play in the playoffs last year, but
right.
Everything happens the way that it's supposed to. But I mean, just seeing those guys day in and day out, the way Steve, Bob, Joe, Peter, the way that they run the organization just like makes me more hungry. And that's why, coming into this season, I really wanted to, sort of stand on my own too, without people thinking I was there for a crutch, and show that I can belong. I mean, that I do belong, not that I can.
No doubt. You this was a breakout season for you, obviously. You put up numbers, you played minutes, all of that stuff. What was the most gratifying part about this season for you? Even a trying season for the team, obviously, but was it just finally getting a chance to show that, to
Yeah,
show
I think.
everybody that it was legit?
Yeah, I think that just showing that as long as I'm healthy and continue to be durable, can go out there and just play. And whether it's positionless, whether it's 1, 2, 3, whatever, coaching staff or team wants me to do, just showing it. Not even really showing it to the league, but just proving myself. And I think probably the most gratifying was I broke my shooting hand in early November. Was out
Mm-hmm.
for 6 weeks or so, and then came back and then had that huge Christmas game, which was definitely probably the biggest highlight. Besides signing the extension.
Right. This is it's such a weird time too now when you think about the shutdown. Like for anybody like yourself who was having momentum, guys, like I think about Zion and kind of how his season was cranking up. I think about Cam Reddish here in Atlanta,
Yep.
rookie who had some tough months to start out, but then really hit his stride right before the shutdown. That's everybody's talking about they want basketball back or they're sad about the season, this and the other, but like that's got to be the toughest thing. Anybody with momentum that was trending up, to get it snatched away when we did, when the season did shut down, that's the part to me that really hurts. Because like I can imagine how you roll into an off season if you finish up the way yourself and a lot of other guys who were playing well would have finished up this season. And we don't know if we get it back, when it comes back, but how much of the results and success of this season are in your mind right now in terms of your plotting your next steps and how you go about working this off season and building on what you did in a Warriors uniform this year?
Yeah. My main thing is literally just to do that. Like I don't get caught up in the moment and think about the successes, that I've had this year. Obviously there's some high points and even some low points, but just try to stay as level-headed as possible, knowing what it took to get here. And every summer I always, look back on shots, look back on, shot selection, look back on shot prep, defensive footwork, everything, and just try to add something else to my game. So for me, it's, just taking whatever's happened before the season got postponed and, hopefully, there's a point in which we can come back, but even looking forward to, the next season, is taking of what I did this past season and looking to build on that. Better shooting percentage, better defensive rating, better offensive rating.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I was thinking about something I read where Klay Thompson was kind of shaking his head at this notion that the Warriors, people talking about the Warriors are done, the dynasty's done. I would pay money to see training camp and off-season workouts, the way the Warriors go about grinding. I'm sure it doesn't have to be spoken. I would imagine that you guys all understand the opportunity, that will present itself when you get a healthy roster back and all these guys like yourself who got this valuable experience this year are added to, of the mix with Klay and Steph and Draymond and all these guys. Like, is there a collective attitude amongst the Warriors that, hey, we're going to take everybody doubting us as an opportunity to prove to, like you said, not just to everybody else, but to yourselves that the Warriors are still that elite team in the league?
Yeah, I think there was obviously, there was a kind of running thing this year where, we were down and hurt and, guys wanted to kick us while we were down. Obviously as, there's as expected, but I think for us, it's just having a lot of young guys and just having guys understand, the magnitude of, what's happened with the organization and the run over the past couple of years. So, just having guys understand the magnitude of it, just trying to lock in and, know that, whenever, we come back and there's a full healthy team, that roles will be different. But, guys just have to, fit in line and do whatever you could do to the best of your ability to help us be successful.
No doubt, man. Listen, Damion, I appreciate it. Like I said, there's so much to that story, man, and I'm going to continue to enjoy watching you fill it out. you got my guy Jordan Poole I'm a Michigan guy, so you got Jordan Poole out
Yes,
there with
sir.
you too. So make sure you take care of him, man. Make sure you take the young fella under your wing, man, and keep him right.
I got you.
And listen, we're gonna see what the Warriors have coming back, man. Whether it's continuing this season or certainly the next season, and enjoy watching you do your thing, man. Kudos to you again, and continued, blessings on the hard work you put in and the journey you're on.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Sekou. And
All right.
last thing, just want everyone to stay safe, and just obviously this is a tough time, but just try to enjoy the moment with the people around you, because this is only going to make us stronger as individuals and as a community. So just wanted to leave
no
off
doubt,
with
man.
that.
Thank you, Damion, and send our blessings and well wishes to your mom and your aunt out there doing that work on the front lines, man. So important, so vital.
Yes, sir. Got you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Damion. Man, there's nothing like a late bloomer, but one of those ultimate success stories. Love talking to guys like Damion Lee, and what a spectacular time he's had just trying to get to the league, and now finally in that really good position with the Warriors, with a chance to see where it goes, whether we get a finish to this season or beyond. I think Damion Lee is on some good footing in the NBA. We appreciate him, coming on here on the Hang Time Podcast during this coronavirus shutdown. Certainly a guy we might not have heard from here on the podcast otherwise. So we appreciate the Warriors, Raymond Ritter and his staff, Brett Winkler, and all the hard work they do for facilitating this and making sure we got a chance to connect with Damion and his mother and aunt doing that frontline work, battling this coronavirus during this global pandemic and shutdown is always going to be forefront at our minds here at the Hang Time Podcast. From our producer, Anthony Bonaparte, who's grinding away, doing his thing. We'll see you next time.
This one is done, but in case you want another one, here's the links to all the fun from Sekou Smith's Hang Time Run. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, NBA.com/hangtime, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Until next time, Hoops fans.